Eli, we're done. Can you make sure you do the punk rock one?
Let's go!
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Primas Podcast. I am your favorite prima of all of the primas. Prima Cindy. Jessica. What's good?
Hi, Prima. You always make me laugh. You're not the favorite, first of all. We've established this last season. I'm the Beyonce, and you're the first two Destiny members that got cut. The first two.
Damn. See how the shit I have to deal with my coworker? It's cool though because I'm taller, so I'll always take that to the grave. Pat, 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 pat. Jessica, ooh, that's a soft spot for Jessica. She hates that. She knows I'm like 1 inch taller and she like takes it very personal. It's like really weird. Childhood trauma. Anyways, we have a very special guest in the house, and it's like my little baby brother, Martin.
All right, Eli, cue in the applauses here. Thank you. I like that you guys have a live studio audience. Which one's my camera? Now that is that my camera?
The one with the red light on top.
Oh, is that my camera? Okay, yeah. Got it. Hey guys, Martin, aka ASAP Guapo, aka Mr. Chocolate Dropper, aka Sagna. What's up, y'all? I'm glad to be a special guest. Let's freaking do this. Is my first ever podcast. I know you guys are thinking, what? That's crazy. Like Oprah just tweeted at me. I can't believe this is your first podcast ever. So it's kind of a special, I'm doing this exclusive for you guys.
I'm just gonna give everybody a quick warning. Martin's a fan of Drake.
Okay.
So
yeah, I am.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna be dealing with tonight, ladies.
I could be real lover boy, all this cute, nice thing, and then out of nowhere I go thoroughbred, full stallion. You guys let me know. You get the danger side, or you get the gangster side. You let me know.
Shout out to my cousin. Thanks, Martin. You're like my third favorite cousin of all time in the Barajas family. Like my best memories of you are, you got me on Drake. Shout out to Coachella 2015. Remember he was there? And I was like, cuz I don't know any Drake songs. And for like a whole year, we were listening to him. And then I was like singing every lyric of every song.
I remember that specifically for Steve Aoki, and Eli would never let us forget that. You guys
Shout out. I know.
You out of nowhere. You go to one concert. Like, that's all it took.
We got into techno together. That was a beautiful moment in Made in America concert. When we saw Steve Aoki, both our minds exploded at the exact same time. And like techno, we had been there for 10 years, but we had just jumped on the bandwagon in like 2014. We were so late.
I don't think we were late. I think we were on time. Steve Aoki came in our life. We didn't go into his life.
Okay. Yeah, so that's what we're dealing with tonight, you guys. These millennials, and they're on the younger end of things. So
let's just make this episode all about reminiscing. Let's not even talk about our topic.
Let's not talk about everything that we prepared for, all of the time I put into this. Let's just throw it out the window, and let's talk about the times Jessica and Martin were each other's wing people.
Jess, you remember that time? Jess, you remember that?
In detail.
I was joking.
Yeah.
I'll get really excited.
I'm down. We could go on for hours. Those are amazing.
You guys have one Raider episode? Let's make a 2-hour episode about just our adventures. Let's talk about it.
Jessica and Martin?
Yeah.
Cindy, you could just hang up here. Didn't you say you were going to leave? Me and Jess were going to.
Kid Cudi concert was memorable. Kid Cudi concert.
Oh, yeah. Remember, I almost got beat up by a guy trying to sell me his mixtape. Mm-hmm. And he got mad at me for not having cash.
Martin's always on the verge of getting jumped in LA. That has to be a hard life.
I mean, when you're on the top, somebody's going to try to take you down,
Haters gotta hate.
Haters gotta hate.
That's that jet lag. That's old us though, but we're different now. We're different people.
Totally different. Which one's my camera, guys? I forgot. Which one's my camera?
The one with the blinking red.
Got it.
All right. Well, that's great. I'm glad we had to hear that situation because I wish that I can censor both of you right now. And that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about censorship a little bit. I think the biggest thing that I'd love to get into is I saw this cool YouTube video and it said, have we become too sensitive? And the other way I want to say that is it becoming harder to keep it 100? Or is it becoming harder to keep it real with the world of social media? So, yeah, I'm excited because I think this is a hot topic. I think we're all really invested in the social media world, whatever that is. For example, right now I'm not really on social media. I'm taking a break and but I'm still on YouTube. So I'm still consuming content. And then I also like to go in the comment section of like videos to learn more, or like, oh, what do people think about this? Like I love learning different perspectives, and even if they're opposing. And so my first question I want to start us off with is, how do you handle when someone thinks the opposite of you? And I want to throw out there a little bit of a triggering situation, because these are the new words, triggering, is like racism. How would you handle somebody who is, so we wouldn't consider ourselves racist, right? So how would you handle someone who was racist? Martin, start us off.
Someone, all right. So that's actually, I've never personally, at least not that I can remember. I think when I was younger, but I was too ignorant to realize what was really going on. So personal experiences, I can't speak on how I would handle somebody who's racist because I don't actually know. I have been profiled by the sheriffs in LA when I was back when I wasn't driving and I was on at Union Station all the time. So that's probably the most I've ever really truly experienced racism. And but that's a whole different topic. Talking about police stuff, like that's a whole different. So as far as like just hearing other people's experience, I'd like to think that like I remember Eloy, our brother, one time told me, or he told us some of the like family members that he went to go visit some friends in the mountain or whatever, and they happened to have this neighbor who I can't remember the details. It was such a long time ago, but I remember he was telling me that this neighbor, his friend's neighbor, was just berating Eloy one day. I don't remember what he was doing. I think Eloy went outside to like throw the trash out for his friend, or I don't remember. I don't remember exactly, but I just remember Eloy was telling me how terrible that guy was treating Eloy, to the point where Eloy was like in shock and didn't necessarily know what to do. And you would think Eloy's kind of a big guy, you know, it's not, this guy was really, like, if you're just on the outside looking in, you're just like, all right, just looking at this guy, he's a little big. So to kind of, I don't mean muscular or anything, just a tall guy, whatever, like, you know, just kind of a little bit of an intimidating guy. Not to me, obviously, I'll drop him in 2 seconds. But this neighbor, Eloy's friend's neighbor, was like just really berating him and going off on him for, I don't remember what. It was pretty much nothing. Eloy's not, I'm saying that Eloy looks like this tough guy, but when you meet him, he's a teddy bear. This dude is not gonna, you know, he's not trying to get there. I'm sure everybody has their limits, but Eloy was thinking more, this is my friend's neighbor. I'm not about to do nothing to him. I can't say anything because I don't want his neighbor to look bad. Like, these guys are the ones living next to this person. So, but I just remember Eloy was saying just a bunch of stuff. And every time he kept telling me that what this dude was saying to him and how he's berating him, I just kept thinking, I mean, I don't know. I guess it was one of those things where a little bit of protective brother in me, where I was just kind of like, I was mad as he was telling me, like, why didn't you sock this dude? But Eloy explained later on, like, well, this isn't my neighbor or something. This is my friend's neighbor. He's gonna have to live next to him. And if a cop, let's just go back to the cop situation. If a cops were to come down, chances are they're looking at the big brown guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's just so many little examples. You can't even try to defend yourself with situations like that. Like, this guy's coming at me. I have nothing against him. I don't even know him. Why would I have anything to say to this person? But he's coming at me, saying all these things, profiling me just because I'm in the neighborhood. Like, I can't even stand outside my friend's house without being profiled and being told stuff. So yeah, and there's just so many stories that I keep hearing, like, randomly, just of people that have been in racial situations. And like I said, personally, I can't really speak on that specifically. But I can say, just for other people, like, like I said, I would like to think that the way I would handle it is to do kind of the same thing Eloy did, which is, you want to be the bigger person, just walk away. But sometimes that shit's hard. Like, how do you expect someone to tell you something and then you don't react? Like, I know it's simple, it's easy to say, just turn your shoulder, but sometimes there's some buttons you push and, you know, like, you could get the wrong person. Like, yeah, we'll be the ones that'll just walk away, but you could get the wrong person who's gonna be like, nah, and then it turns into another thing. So I don't know if I kind of got around your question with that, but that was just a little something I have to say about the topic of race, like how I would handle a situation like that. I really don't know, to answer your question, though.
Yeah, I appreciate that you got personal, because I feel like the Primas podcast is also a space of healing. And I feel like you did some healing from your experiences with racism. So that's great. Um, Jessica, what do you think?
How do I handle people with different perspectives than mine?
And think of like extreme perspectives, right? Like racism,
Mhm.
sexism, things that would push your butt. Everybody has different triggers.
Honestly, I can't say I've encountered one-on-one, but I've seen it, and I keep telling myself every time something goes on, how would I handle it? And I would think I would like to handle it in a calm manner and not get to that level, because as I've mentioned several times, I could be very reactive. I don't know how to control my emotions like that, especially when it comes to anger. But currently in my job right now, there are people who are not for the homeless population. And I would say that's some sort of disagreement, because either you are for this community or you're not. And those who are not have this sense of entitlement. And I just try to come or approach them from a sense of understanding. So when they come and ask me, what are you doing? And I could already read their body language. They come off like kind of like swooping by, like peeking their head out. And I'm like, if you have a question, ask me. And I tell them, like, how can I help you? Like, oh, what are you doing? What's the purpose of this cause? Are you getting funded by the city? And I just answer them respectfully, 90% because I'm at work, I'm not out in public. But I just try to tell them and not get to their level, because my other coworkers have retaliated, have flipped people off, and they've gotten reprimanded for that. And I don't want to be like that. I don't want to bring myself to that level. So I just try to approach people who I see are very different or very on the opposite end of my view with a sense of understanding. And I have not mastered it. I'm still in practice of it, but especially with all last year, the Black Lives Matter movement, all that, like I've openly admitted, it wasn't until that where I jumped on my social justice game, where I'm trying to be more understanding of both sides, and that not necessarily neither of them are wrong, but understanding. And we'll dive a little bit more into, this perspective a little bit more. But to answer your question, Prima, I would say just try to approach them with an understanding mindset. And like Martin said, it's super hard when that emotion of anger is running through your body, but it's a work in progress.
Yeah, that's good. I think you guys are both self-aware. I think for me, I would I'm in a place now where I'm working a lot on myself and I'm learning to see others with more empathy. One big example of me practicing was like my mom. I got to a point where I really disliked my mom and she disliked me, and whatever, like it's not it's childhood trauma. But it's getting to the for me, what's helped me have a better relationship with my mom and working with my mom has been, and we have opposing views, me and my mom. So it has been looking at her with empathy. And I think you were going towards that, Jess, because even a person who is racist or whatever you want to call it, anybody who thinks very opposite to what you think, in psychology, we're taught that our environment plays a huge role in our perceptions to the world. So I've learned to see that racist person or that sexist person or a hater with empathy, which is an understanding, putting myself in their shoes, like, well, my environment growing up told me this narrative, like that, these people are less than, and I was fed that by my teachers, by my mom, my dad, everybody around me practiced it. Or if someone's sexist or if someone's homophobic, whatever that is, that they learned that form of hate. And it's not a healthy way to live when you have hate in your heart. And so I empathize. I'm getting to the point very recently, and I think it has to do a lot of with like meditation and healing, that you're able to see someone who's coming at you aggressively and be like, damn, like, and I don't even want to look at them like I feel bad for them, because I feel like that's taking power away from the big person that we are, from each spirit. It's like, nah, don't, I don't feel bad for you. I know you could do better. And I wish that on these people. But at the same time, when we talk about censorship, or are we becoming too sensitive, I'd like to think that I'm trying to not play into that, because I am a part of the millennial group, and I feel like everybody is becoming very sensitive, that any opposing view, we take that to the next extreme. We don't ever find a middle ground. And I've heard before that humans, we go through that in life. We go through places where we go to this extreme and then we go to this extreme, and then in history. And so I thought that was cool, you know, because it's like, oh my God, everything's going bad now because of technology. And it's just like, no, we're following the patterns that we always have been, that you know. And so I think that's interesting.
Yeah, I definitely see that. Like, I think history repeats itself, not necessarily to extreme. Like, I don't know if we'll ever see like and I'm not laughing at this, but I'm saying, like, I don't know if we'll ever see like a Holocaust or anything like that. But as far as certain things, like, there are like things in history where you are on one, there is no middle ground. You are on one side or the other. Like, let me take it to politics for a quick second. I'm not even going to dive into politics because I'm not about that. But really quick, like there's so many parties in, you know, when it comes to politics and stuff like that. But when it comes to the main ones, it's you're either on the Republican side or you're on the Democrat side. And it's one of those things where it's kind of like, it's, to me, I consider myself a very liberal person, but I'm not saying that I'm a Democrat or a Republican. I'm not claiming to be anything. Why can't it be, let me hear both sides of the story? And if I don't agree with a certain side, that doesn't make me automatically this. You know what I'm saying? Like, why do you guys got to put me, everybody talks about they don't want to be put in a box or anything like that, but it's just like, dude, if I can't speak the truth to you by myself, like my truth, I'm not saying you got to look at things the way I do, but don't also put me in a box where, like, well, this person thinks this way and I disagree with that, so they're this person. Like, you're going to label that person. And that's where the whole censorship thing comes. Like, I could say one wrong thing to one person and I didn't even mean it to come off the way that person took it, but now I'm being canceled or there's a hashtag about me because I said something you didn't like. Like, how about just don't take it personal and understand, like, I am my own person. I wasn't trying to offend you. We're just not going to see eye to eye. Doesn't mean we can't be friends or we can't have this conversation or something. Some people are just more like, you see it that way, then I'm either going to argue you to death and we're never going to meet somewhere, or we're just never going to talk. It can't be, okay, well, that's how you feel and that's fine. This is how I feel and that's fine. Let's move on. Like, yeah, when it gets to a heated debate, how can you just move on? But it's also that, it's how can you just be able to accept somebody for having their way of looking or viewing something without you taking it so personal? Like, you asked me something, I just answered it. Now you're mad? I don't get it. What did I do? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's where the censorship stuff, to me, like, I don't understand why, like, I got to watch what I say. Like, if not, then that means I'm on one side. Like, I just don't get that part of the censorship.
That's amazing you bring that up, Martin. You're so woke. You reminded me of, I was just trying to keep up with your lingo. You reminded me of this TED Talk. I watched a bunch of TED Talks, and there was this one where this lady brought up a point which is very opposite, kneeling of the flag, right? Isn't that either you're for it or you're against it? And she's like, why? Why is that such a controversial topic right now? And she broke it down. And it sums up what you just said, because she said they asked, there was like a study done where they put in people of both sides, people who believed in this and people who didn't. And they asked one person in the room, he was a veteran, and he's like, okay, I don't want to kneel for the flag because I fought for it in like whatever 2 wars he was in. And then they asked a black female, and they asked her, how come you kneel for the flag? And she's like, because of the environment I was raised in, similar to what Cindy just said. And so they were just listening to each other's opposing views. And in that video I saw, it's about that sense of understanding, listening, not necessarily, and their body language. Because if you have someone who has opposing views and your body language is huge, like there's sometimes I'm talking to people who I can tell they're not listening to me. They're already shaking their head no, they're rolling their eyes, they have their hands like that. So all those are telling me you're not listening to me. And it goes back to that. You hear my perspective in what I went through in my, my experience, and you're going to understand where I'm coming from because this is my truth. So like what you were saying, cuz, and it's true. I'm completely with you on that aspect. I try to listen to people. I love listening to people's stories, but that doesn't necessarily mean either of them are wrong. It's just coming from that sense of understanding. And I think that's the biggest equation missing, is that it's always my way or their way. And it's never, well, let's just listen to each other. What happened to that? Let's promote that argument.
Well, I don't think that's ever been something people really like ever did. It's you're listening, but you're only listening to what you want to hear, and that's where you form your opinion. Like you do that. Like if Cindy gives me her opinion on something that I asked her, and then I start having some type of emotion and I'm reacting, then it's not that she's saying anything wrong. It's that I'm only listening. I'm being very selective on what she's saying and what I'm choosing to take. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, you explained something crazy, but I only heard this one word out of everything you just explained yourself with, and that's all I'm going to take from that. And even if people want to admit it to themselves or not, there are conversations, and it happens to me. Don't get me wrong. I'm not apologizing, but at the same time, it's one of those things where I'm sorry that I misheard you, but it happens. Miscommunications happen. Like text messages, social media, all that stuff. If you read something, people find a tone in something they read. And like I said, I'm not acting like I'm a victim. I've done it myself. Like I've looked at a text message and I'm like, what the hell do you mean by that? And then it comes out like, dude, I seriously didn't mean anything. Like my bad if I offended or something like that. Like, yeah, that was my fault. I got to learn. Like, why did I become so offended? So nobody's going to have it right. But like I said, we all have this selective hearing. Nobody ever just listens. Everybody's always going to have an opinion. That's just how it goes. And people think because they have an opinion, they're entitled to tell you how to live your life or how you're supposed to be thinking and things like that. Like, because I feel this way, you got to start feeling this way. Like, that's just not how it's going to go.
Exactly.
Like, I may have more of my, like, I may agree with you on a lot of the stuff, but there's a lot of stuff I'm not going to agree with. But instead of looking like, oh, look at all this stuff that this person's agreeing with me with, they're going to look at the little bit that they disagree with. And that's all they care about. You know what I'm saying? That's like that topic of haters you guys had not too long ago. It's just like, we have haters because people choose to. There's no reason to really hate. Like, if you hate me, genuinely, if you really hate me, I think, and I'm not trying to judge, but I'm just going to throw it out there, I think there's something wrong with you because I'm really never trying to offend. You know what I'm saying? And if I do, I don't have this pride or ego to apologize, but I'm also not going to apologize because I'm throwing a joke. You know what I'm saying? Like, but go ahead, Cindy. I feel like I haven't heard from you.
Oh, I was going to say that
with your busted ass camera.
I know. I'm going to get a new one with my taxes. Kick it. So when
the government, way to go. Big brother, get her.
when we get triggered when someone says something that we don't like, it's our ego. And the only reason, even if they say something inappropriate or like F you, bitch, we are like, we didn't like it. So then we categorize it as wrong, because it didn't sit well with us. And it takes a lot of catching yourself and saying, wait, why am I getting triggered by this person? Or why am I not liking why this? Anytime that I've ever got, and it took me a while to get to this place to like mentally mature, emotionally mature, where if someone like my mom, for example, said something that I didn't like, you start to think, why didn't you like it? Just because you are you and your mom is your mom. Even if your mom said something that triggered you and she did it with an intention, it doesn't matter. You shouldn't take it personally because then you're giving that person control over your emotions. And you're like, I'm the victim. She's the reason why I'm reacting this badly. And that's our ego. Because I've learned, well, again, when people do disagree with me, and it's helping me a lot with my mom, is to say, who cares what other people, why do we get so emotional? Like, they could say something and it's just, that's fine. Like, even if it's not something you would have said, even if it's embarrassing, if it's like, that's degrading, if it's just anything, it could be anything, and it's our ego, I think. And if we're self-aware, if we question, like, why did I get upset over that? And question and find it within, like, in yourself, like, why does this person trigger me so much? It's never the other person. They're mirroring your energy.
Yeah.
They're it's like a reflection. It's weird. And so I like that. In those moments where I do feel uncomfortable because someone is saying something, now I can finally slow down, do deep breathing, and then catch myself. And then I'm like, who am I? Who am I to tell someone like, hey, you're wrong? Especially if they're not inciting violence. I think that's the only time where I'd ever, like you said, either to defend myself or defend my daughter, you know what I mean? Or like a family member or something, like where it's like that, 100%. And, I wouldn't approach it in a violent way, but I'd be prepared because it's a violent situation. And I'm the type of person that steps the fuck up. Just saying.
Cindy's the only person I know that thinks she's a black belt in something she's never even tried.
Really?
I'm just saying, do jujitsu, take a jujitsu class, and then step up to the plate.
I'm more of a Muay Thai type of girl, but
whatever.
He has unagi.
Whatever. You look, come at me, and I'll let you know what type of martial arts I'm taking. Anyways, and yeah. Okay, so I wanted to present something else because Martin totally could see. That's what little brothers do. He's just always been a pain in the ass.
Don't censor me. You're gonna mute my mic? Whatever. Where's my camera?
Let's cancel my hashtag cancel Martin. He could keep the video on, but let's just mute him.
You guys, your fans they probably can't see this, but I got a Rolex on. Whatever.
Oh, me too.
Starter Rolly. Starter.
I have it too. Cindy doesn't believe in it.
I know. Oh my gosh, dude! I wish I was on the.
You sound like Eloy.
I wish I was on that minimalist episode that you guys did, because oh my god, I got stories on Cindy.
Like what?
Nothing.
That I'm a minute. Why does that bother you so much?
It doesn't bother me so much. But
clearly it does.
A pencil on the table, and she's just like, "My life is cluttered. Oh my god!" Like you can't do nothing around Cindy with anything. Like
I never police other people.
Peace brings in a rock, and she's like, baby, did we need this though? I don't know." And then there goes Peace's childhood.
That's dumb. And then Jessica, you just said, I never ever in my life use those words, that I don't believe in that Apple Watch. And Eloy always, anytime I think opposite of him, he's like, Cindy doesn't believe in death. Cindy doesn't believe in bikes. Cindy doesn't believe in shampoo. Cindy doesn't believe in COVID. It's just like, I've never said any of those things. And now Jessica finally did what Eloy does. Oh, Cindy doesn't believe in Apple Watches. Have I ever said that?
You don't like Apple?
It's a little bit too much. For Cindy to have even clothing on is like suffocating.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to live in Colorado because it gets so cold, and it's like, dang, I have to layer, and it's just like so annoying. Because as soon as I get home, it's like,
free the nipple.
Free the nips. Okay. So to wrap up our little our little last thought is that it's important to know what people think to understand the world. So this is a more philosophical perspective where it's important that we listen to other people's opinions. Even if they're opposing to us, because that's how humans learn. And if we narrow our mind as woke as we want to feel, now we're just narrowing it to that narrative. And I think the cancel culture, sorry guys, that was my daughter. She always makes a special appearance in like every episode. Yeah, it's important that we know everybody's opinion so that we can form our own. And if our environment is only our own opinion, we're doing the same thing that we judge racist people. We're like, you're wrong for being racist. And it's just like, well, you're forming your own opinions based off of your own little bubble. And social media and Google is really good at creating even more. It's a smart technology. I appreciate that Google sends me stuff that they know I'm gonna, right? They're studying me. So it's like, great, I appreciate that. But then it's becoming, all these other things are getting censored for me. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know now what's going on with people who don't think like me. And it's just like, that's weird, right? It's an interesting time because what goes through our phone is 100% customized and catered to our individual person. And I don't know, that's a crazy concept. Like, it's cool, but then it's also like, well, wait, what is everyone else doing or thinking about? Like, how am I supposed to know, right? Like other humans, how am I supposed to understand society if I'm only, getting fed what I want to hear, basically? Do you guys have any thoughts on that? Or should I keep going?
Oh, I mean, well, I was gonna, you said something about a second ago. I lost my train of thought because I thought Jess was gonna say something right now, but
I said, the quote that I said was, it's important to know what people think to understand the world. This is a quote. I don't know who it's by.
I think I made that one up.
Oh yeah, I think it's Martin. Another quote, you cannot be both honest and polite.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
I agree, but I think only because I agree now with that only because now the way people think being like I think people have used the excuse of being honest to be a jackass, kind of like. And I'm not insulting the people that believe in signs. What is that called? The cancer astrology.
No, I said Scientology.
No, the sign like Cancer and Pisces and astrology.
Astrology.
Okay, so I'm not insulting people that believe in that. I'm not. You know, you have your beliefs. You go towards something, that's fine. I don't necessarily believe in it, but I think like I've seen it on social media, and it's obviously in social media is where you're going to see all these people's true who they are, you know, which for those who obviously can't see are, I did air quotes because I think social media, that's where you think you could be the bravest. It's like playing a video game. Like nobody's going to go to you after you said this but you feel safe behind a keyboard because nobody's going to go out of their way to find you. But anyways, yeah, like I think that people try to be honest and they think, they use that as an excuse to be a jackass sometimes. And like I said, to go back to the astrology thing, people use the astrology thing to be like, well, I'm just a Pisces. That's why I get to do this. Like, I don't understand your logic that because this is what a book or something said that you are, that that means you know, that's who you are. Like you have the right to have this entitlement to be this type of person. And that's the same thing with honesty. Like I think people could be honest and be polite, but I think people have messed with trying to be so true and real this, real that. And I'm just being honest, but it's just like, dude, you're not being honest. I think sometimes some people are, and honesty does hurt. Don't get me wrong, but sometimes people are just, they don't like, I think some people take out their own insecurities onto others by saying they'll nitpick one little thing that they don't like about somebody and be like, well, I'm just being honest. Like, well, if you were being honest and you really, truly care, I think there's a nicer way to go about it. But now, because you're being honest, now we're arguing. Like if you're just being honest, I shouldn't have had to have argued. Some people, don't get me wrong, Elo tells me this he doesn't tell me this all the time, but I've noticed it, and he has said it in the past. I'm somebody who can't take advice that easily. I think I do now. Way back in the days, I didn't because, you know, I was that younger brother syndrome. Everybody thinks they know better. Like nobody knows shit. Nobody has this shit figured out. But whatever, if you want to think you do, fine. But there are certain things that people say that make sense to me that I will now. I'm starting, as I'm getting older, I'm starting to realize like, okay, I can take that piece of advice. I don't have to tell you thank you for the advice or something like that for for you to just be happy, but like, yeah, they took my advice. Like you'll just see it in my actions. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're being honest, then I'll just take it how you take it. But if you're just pounding me with your honesty, trying to give me advice, then it's just like, bro, you already said it once. Back up. If you don't like it, then I didn't take your advice or your honesty or whatever it is. And I'm not talking specifically about Eloy. I brought up Eloy before because we've talked about that, like how I haven't in the past, I wasn't the best at taking advice, and I wasn't. That was my pride and ego, and I was younger and immature. But like I said, nowadays, like I think with my actions, I'm showing a little bit more. Not that I need to show anybody shit. Like I don't need to show anybody anything about me, but I do like to have my family, you know, be proud of me or something like that. I don't need it, but some of the advice from like people, friends, family, and things like that, close ones, I'll take it if they're really coming at me, you know, polite. There is a way to be polite and honest, but I think people have fucked with this word of honesty too much, where they're thinking they're being true and I don't know. Sometimes it comes off kind of dickish and they don't realize it.
I also think that when you talk about advice, it's in human behavior where we're not receptive, we're not open to unsolicited advice. And so I think you're definitely talking from like the youngest brother syndrome. There's 5 of us, you guys, and he's the youngest. So all of my older brothers, and this is in my opinion, have always been like, I need to give Martin advice because he's the younger one. He doesn't know what's going on. And I don't think I ever have. If Martin ever asks me something, which I don't think we have that type of communication, but if anybody ever said like, hey, what would you do in this situation? Then I'd be like, okay, this is what I would do. But I'm very like, everyone's different. Everyone's going to make mistakes. Yeah. Mistakes are okay. Grow from your mistakes. Feel uncomfortable. You know, and it's not advice, because I also say, I don't know shit. I'm too aware that I don't know shit. I'm like, whatever I say may or may not work. You got to do you. And so I don't know. I think when it's unsolicited, like I didn't ask you for this advice. I think that's just a different. I think Martin, I just feel bad a little bit because Martin has gotten a lot of that. I know you don't feel bad, but I probably would get super frustrated because when some people do try to, or, you know, Robert, for example, that's my oldest brother. I'll ask him for specific things. But once he starts going into other areas, and I'm like, I just kind of wanted to know this part. And it's very helpful. I go to him a lot. But when it's unsolicited advice, like, whoa, I wasn't even talking about that. You just are making an assumption on my life, and you're saying this is how you should fix your life because this is how I would be doing things. And it's just like everyone's different. Martin, for example, because he is the youngest, he gets picked on a lot. All right, he did when we were younger. Not by me, by the way. Me and Martin have always been homies. But you know, just I don't know. That was such a like Mexican, also big brother guys, men dynamic where it's just like, well, we got to show him how to be a man. And it's just like, why do you guys feel that you know the ways? Everyone's different. We're all from different generations. We all have such different environments. Even if we grew up in the same house, we're all different ages, different genders. Like it's just, we're all different. So I think unsolicited advice is super annoying. And I'm not saying that my brothers are annoying because they didn't really do that to me, but I was like, no one's going to take your advice. Okay. So that's the other, sorry. If you want someone to listen to you, you just have to lead by example. Because if you come at someone, it's just like, I wasn't asking you, or you just, people don't receive it. Even, okay, when we send like YouTube videos out, most of the time nobody sees those unless it's like very specific and I like YouTube, so I'll do it. But most of the time it's like, or someone's like, look at this new song. We're like, because you discovered them. So I'm gonna do my own thing. Like we're just so natural about it. I don't think it's a bad thing, but yeah, I just wanted to say, little brothers, that sucks. I thought it sucked being the only girl, but evidently.
I don't think anybody in the world has it worse than young Latino men. Anybody. I don't think anybody in the world has it worse than a young Latino man. Or Latinx, I should say. I'm getting there.
Right,
I'm getting there.
because you're not conforming to any society titles. Yeah, I'm still learning about that. That's new language. Like in 1984. Do I plug that book in every single chapter ever?
No, it just applies in all. And then I
do it like
contexts.
This. Cindy reads one book. She reads one book her whole life and thinks.
First of all, I've read 4 books.
Okay, Captain Underpants doesn't count.
You guys read that book. I was on Goosebumps.
Shit. Did you ever flip through those pages to see the action scenes in the book?
I didn't. The fact that you guys were interested in it was like, ew.
Okay.
Ew. Okay. Last but not least, just kidding, but we are getting towards the end. What do you guys think about Trump being banned from Twitter and Facebook and Pinterest and Pornhub?
I'm gonna let Jess take over because I feel like you and I have been talking more.
Whoever has a great idea.
I mean, I got stuff to say on it too, but I just wonder.
That's a very extreme example. I agree he should have, because he's our president. He was our president.
That he should have been banned?
Yeah. Because he's our president. And that comes with a sense of power that your average person doesn't. So I agree, he was encouraging these riots. And for you to be the highest leader of our chain of command, I think you should pull the plug, because it's like allowing Hitler to be like, okay, bro, you're right. Like we should be doing whatever you're saying. And it's like, no, you shouldn't allow to be saying whatever the hell you want when you have that much power. But when it comes to every other ordinary Joes, I can't even think of anyone else they've banned off memory, but when it comes to everyone else, no, I think we have that right. We have that, what's the First Amendment? Freedom of speech.
Yes. Okay. I actually wrote it down, but.
I believe that, but no, when you're the highest person, 100%, if you're spewing lies and things that is false, then yeah, you're gonna get reprimanded. There's gonna be consequences to those actions, just like everyone else who says whatever they want sometimes gets banned. I mean, not banned, gets fired from their jobs. And then it just kind of reminds me of, recently on MTV, they cut a lot of like people who've said like very harsh things, like they've cut them from the network. And I'm just like, so see, everybody has consequences, but So yeah, I'm for him getting banned because I think what he was saying was lies and like encouraging, yeah, this crazy behavior.
Do you want to go, Cindy, or you want me to?
No, I just wanted to say that when you say lies, it's so hard. First of all, I already think I don't know anything about the world. Like I always try to make sense of the world. And when you say lies, it's like I think, but isn't it his truth? Like a racist and freedom of speech protects your speech. I'm not saying that I'm with Trump. I'm just saying this is what we're talking about.
Correct.
Is he thinks he's right. What he's saying, like his whole team thinks it's right. And we're on the other side, so we're just like F that mother effer, right? But it's just like this is what we're talking about, you know, like but because we don't agree with what he's saying, let's cut him out. So I don't know.
That's where it gets dangerous. I believe in that as well. I didn't mean to interrupt. I don't know if you had more to say. My bad. Not that I'm just trying to agree or anything, but like I hate Trump more than like, you know, just as much as the next person who really is against Trump. Him and that whole cabinet, terrible people. I agree with that 100%. But even if it's a lie or whatever it is, everything's a lie. Our pictures on social media are a lie. You know, anything, whether you're writing a note or like a post, or if you're posting a picture, whatever it is, anything could be considered a lie. So it gets kind of tricky to figure out who should be banned and who shouldn't. It's just of course, we don't want to see somebody who's that radical and totally against our views, but at the same time, somebody else on the opposite side can cut somebody like Bernie Sanders I wish was my father, but somebody that's super conservative or on the right wing or whatever can look at Bernie Sanders and be like, "No, this guy's crazy. Like everything he's saying, I don't agree with, so I'm going to ban him from my social platforms." I don't agree with that. Even if you don't agree with what that person is saying, I don't think you should be banned unless, and Cindy and I were talking about this the other day, unless you're inciting violence, unless there's, like, for example, when Trump said what he was saying on at that press conference, and he told people, charge
the Capitol,
charge at Congress. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like, that's inciting violence. That's why he should have gotten kicked out, but not for other stuff. Like, just because he's saying racist shit doesn't mean I think he should get kicked off for that.
But that's why he got banned. But you're right. That's why he got banned, was for that isolated incident. And I know he's been banned before for other things, or I don't know if he has, but I was just talking about the Capitol for that reason. Because not only, and I get it, it's just the position he's in and the power as the chief of commander. He shouldn't be advising as many million of people that he's in touch with through his Twitter account to be doing that. So that's where it becomes wrong. And I think he should have been banned right after that for charging, for allowing his supporters to do that. That's insane. No, that's violence is never okay. Rioting is never okay. You know, people die from that. And no one got any, well, now I think they got a consequence, but you know what I mean? It's just he was the one allowing that to happen.
Yeah.
And if it would have been any other group, it wouldn't have been gone down as easily as it had. But no, so for that reason alone, I think he should have been banned. And I think he's still banned, right? I don't think he's allowed.
Yeah, they started the whole right-wing conservative people started their own media bullshit. But I agree with that when it comes to violence and stuff like that. But at the same time, there are situations where, and we're just talking about social media, people posting whatever they want. And actually, cousin, you sent us this about Kevin Hart, and I heard about this not that long ago, but years ago. I don't hate Kevin Hart. I actually think he's hilarious. I don't think he should be canceled. Not that he is, but I don't think he should be canceled for anything. Like, I don't see him as a hateful person in any sense of the word. But like comedians, I know it's easy to say, like, but celebrities have like a very high voice. They have an influential voice. Like, yeah, but you have your own mind and opinions that you don't like. If a comedian says something and if you choose to be outraged and want to cancel that person and take them off of because of what they said back in the days, it's just like, even if he really did feel even if he was homophobic when back in those days, all you're going to judge him is off that one post. What have you seen him do since that moment? Mm-hmm. Has he ever said anything again? Has he actually been involved in organizations trying to support LGBTQ plus things like that? And that's what I'm saying. People get outraged for the tiniest things, and that's why as much as like I think Kevin Hart shouldn't have been, hated on so much for something that was done for you in the past. But I also got to defend Donald Trump in this situation where it's just like, if he didn't incite the riot, he could say whatever you want. Like, he shouldn't have been banned. Just the same way, like, he shouldn't be canceled on social media unless it was because he incited that riot, which he did. So I agree with him being banned now, but just to say whatever you want, I don't think you should get canceled. There was a person on that Mandalorian show. She was an ex-UFC fighter, and she said something about wearing masks or whatever. And because of that, now she's basically losing her life. Like, I'm sure she'll be fine. She'll pick up, like these Republicans will pick her up. They love her. But it's things like that. Like, just because you have this opinion on masks, like maybe I don't agree with your opinion, whether you're wearing it or not, whatever your opinion is, it's fine.
Yeah.
But I'm not like, why should you have to lose your job? I'm never going to take food off of somebody's plate because they said something and it's just like, I can't believe, like, now I'm mad. They should lose their life. Like, what do you expect me to do just because I have this opinion? Like, now I lose my job. Now the world hates me. Like,
it's going to the opposite extreme.
Yeah.
Like we were saying.
Yeah.
And if you don't conform, which is always where I fall, and if you're in the middle where you're like, you know what, I feel like we're all just fucking losing it. I'm not on either side. We all have a lot to work on as individuals. And there's always hostility towards non-conformity. And you said this earlier, Martin, when you said, and if I disagree with this situation, then that makes me the enemy, and now I'm a part of this other group. And it's just like, no, I just don't know how I feel about this. And it's like, nope, we're going to go to the extreme and cancel the shit out of you. And whatever, if you're a celebrity, we'll do that. If you're younger, we're going to fire you. Like, not younger, but if you're like a regular person, we'll fire you, or we'll out you out we'll make a hashtag or whatever. And there's no solutions in going to the extreme. I feel going to the extreme, we're just a bunch of babies throwing tantrums. Like, no, I hate you because you think differently than me. And it's like, okay, that's fine. But that's not really pushing the human race forward. We're not really coming to solutions. We're actually creating more hate. Like, the other side wants to get rid of hate, but what we end up doing is like, well, we're going to hate you back. And it's like, well, two wrongs don't make a right. So I'm just going to stay out of this shit. And then people are like, well, you're just crazy because you don't believe in anything. And it's just like, I am crazy.
I like that. But I know the Trump one, I knew when we were going to talk about it, I was going to come off like I agree with censorship, but that isolated incident is the only thing I agree with. But other than that, I do agree that we are too sensitive, that we are canceling people for mistakes. And we've all made mistakes. I've hurt people's feelings when I was a lot younger. I would say things to them that would make them feel bad. And then I just think so then we're not allowed to make mistakes. We're not allowed to apologize. And then going back to that Kevin Hart thing, it was for the Oscars.
Yeah.
He was asked to be a host, and then it came up again where in the context of his stand-up comedy, he used a homophobic slur or joke. And since then, and that had been 10 years, he's apologized sincerely. He shows that he doesn't even use that in his current material. And yet again, it was being brought up. So that I don't agree with. He's already apologized. Why do we keep punishing someone for something they've done and they're not that person anymore? And it kind of just goes back to our motto, we're always growing, we're always learning, we're gonna make mistakes. And yeah, I'll just say a little bit more when we talk about the solutions, but yeah, I agree.
We can always do a part 2 if you guys ever wanted, because I actually do like this conversation, because there's a lot that I wanted to get into that I also have written down information that I couldn't. So if hopefully we do a part 2, I would love to return for this, because the censorship is I wanted to bring up the comedians in general.
Mm-hmm.
They can't, what we are the society has gotten so sensitive that now we're the ones that are choosing the jokes for the comedian. They can't even express their own art. We're choosing what art is theirs. And again, there's a bunch of comedians, whether they're on the left, right, middle, whatever side you want to put them on, they'll tell you when they're in the spotlight, like, dude, this is just a joke. If you're gonna get offended, don't come to the haha store if you're gonna come over here to cry. Like it's that's not what it's about. And if you're gonna, and even if you're not gonna cry, you're just gonna be there with a sour face and you're gonna be mad the whole time. Well, then you honestly, it's not even sensitivity at that point. Like I said, it's one of those things where people just want to be mad because they have their own insecurities that they don't know how to deal with. So they'll look for anything just to get mad. And it's just like, are you serious? Like Dave Chappelle has said some out of pocket shit, but it's a joke. You can tell when some of it's a joke. Like you really think he's going around? He's not telling people, "Hey, transvestites, hey, homosexuals." Like, first of all, if you really want to get into it, like there's a whole history when it comes to Black men in America and homophobia and homosexuals in general. Like just that whole topic. Like they were raised to really hate. Like it's not in their gene. It's not like they were born wanting to be homophobic or anything like that, but it was in their growing up as it sucks. You know how many people of like Black families and stuff like that, they have their kids that are still in the closet and they're too afraid to come out and be the real them because society has made it like that. And that's why like Kevin Hart, Dave Chappelle and all them, like they said these things. I don't think they really feel this way about homosexuality or homosexuals, but even if they did, it was, I'm sure, way back when they were way more ignorant. We are opening our eyes a little bit more as time is going forward. So I'm sure they regret their stuff, but it's just like at this point, I'm not even trying to offend. I'm a comedian. What could I do? Like write my jokes for me then. If you don't want me to say stuff, you write my stuff. Like I'm really not trying to offend. And if I can't tell you that, then I don't know what I can talk about. This is how it's kind of been. And it's sometimes jokes are just jokes, And that's like a whole nother topic that I would like to get into, but I know we're pressed on time.
We will get into more. And I wanted to say also, I want to start talking about solutions now, but then I also just whatever personally, like you would say, like this is how I try to find balance. But I also want to say that becoming too sensitive in every sense of the word is, for me and my personal theory of like our species, dangerous. Because when you, for example, compare like allergies, some ways, some methods to get better at allergies, like if you have a nut allergy or whatever, and I'm not a scientist, okay? This is just my personal, from what I've kind of observed. The smaller doses are introduced to your immune system, and right, isn't that what the flu shot is? And then you're able to handle better. And I think the same applies for our behavior or our morals, whatever we want to call this. But like if we're becoming so sensitive, because we're seeing this with parenting, where kids now they're rarely outside. People think that going to the park or going to the mountains is like weird now. And it's just like, that's pain is very important. Physical pain, emotional pain is very important for us. It's a part of who we are. We need to embrace that. And anytime we feel uncomfortable, triggered, it's because we're wired to feel that way. And I feel like it's better for us to look into that, because the more sensitive we become, the more vulnerable we become. And like we said, our favorite quote from Charles Darwin is, it's not the physically strongest of the species or not the most mentally smartest of the species that have a greater chance of survival. It's the species that is better adapted to change. And this goes for all species. Last time we said human species, and he was talking about species in general. Any species that has been able to develop over this lifetime with all of the crazy conditions that exist on this planet and that we continue to create, if you're more adaptive to change, you're going to have a more successful time. You're going to have more of an opportunity. You're going to have you're more open to other people's ideas. And if you're closed off, you're going to create stress in you. That's not a healthy thing for you. But the more open you are, the more relaxed you are, the more you can say, okay, well, you know what, we may disagree, and that's where it ends. It doesn't matter. Like, who cares that we're disagreeing? So I think that's a part of my solution, is to always put ourselves in that, and it's going to be super hard, but putting ourselves in that person's shoes and thinking, oh, okay, now I see how they got to that point. Whether I agree or not is separate. That's my ego, because I don't have to agree or not. Like we make it about ourselves. We make it personal. We're like, well, that person made me mad. And, my daughter uses that language. She's 4. And, I kind of try to turn it around. Like, you're in control of your emotions and who you are. You should never give that power to anybody else, because life isn't going to be easy, right? If we give, and that's what these people are doing. The people that are so hypersensitive to, like, they said this, that person said that, they're not doing this, that isn't healthy. And it's going to cause a lot of anxiety and depression and frustration and madness and anger, because that's not the way we're built. We're meant to be diverse. Another one of my favorite quotes is, diversity stimulates creativity. So diversity of any kind is needed to stimulate creativity, because if we get too many people that we think the same, the light, it just becomes narrow. We just hear what we want to hear and we're comfortable. We like hearing what we want to hear, but we don't grow there. So that's a part of my solutions, is to be more empathetic to people who think differently than us.
I like it. I believe there is also a solution. I think we need to listen to each other and hear where we're coming from. Kind of like when I gave that example of the TED Talk. Because once we start listening to different perspectives, and start to listen to each other, the solution lies within the gray matter, right? The gray matter's in between the two extreme ends, either this or that. But let's focus more on the middle. Let's try to be more in the middle so we can hear each other, because I don't think either side is wrong. It's just understanding where they've came from and their life experience to why they are thinking the way they are, like where their mindset is. And like I said, and let's just say they change in 10 years. Like, well, Jess, like, I remember I was talking to one of my friends who was a child development major. And I would always say, like, man, in my early 20s, man, I'm going to beat the shit out of my kid, or like slap her when she's wrong. And is she crucifying me now? Because I would never smack my daughter, and she's pushing me. I get why there's a chancla culture, but I would never do that to my kid. So I messed up. I was wrong. I would never say that today about disciplining my child, So it's things like that. Like, it's okay. Like Cindy said, who cares what I said last week? I am today. We're living in the present. The past doesn't matter. You're upset about an idea that hasn't even happened, or I'm no longer that person. And to me, that's like, okay, well, I'm gonna pick and choose who I want to hang out with, pick and choose who I want to be around with, because my energy, and I can't help everyone. I can't fix everyone. You have to want it. It's all in you. So there you go. I hope that's a reasonable solution.
And just to feed off of that, being a single father of a dog, I totally get that. Oh, am I not allowed to speak on this? Oh, okay, I guess.
You're speaking from a place of privilege. Check your privilege, because I'm effing triggered, bruh.
Well, we'll start a hashtag about me.
No, but hashtag cancel Martin.
It's already happened. I'll bounce back again. Anyways, so pretty much, I'll wrap my solution part up really quick. And to be honest, I think my solution is going to sound like an oxymoron. I think the solution is that there really isn't one. And the only way to be okay with that is to just accept. The solution is accept. Like, I have friends that are very conservative and very different from how I believe, but I don't want to get away from them just because I don't like how they view certain things. Even some of my family members think way different from me, but I'm not going to hate you forever. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know another side of you still. Like, just because I don't agree with that, it's fine. I'm still cool with you. There are some that are extreme. I'm not going to be cool with some extreme people like that have like extreme opinions like that. I'll be like, I don't want to deal with you, but I don't wish death upon you. I don't want you to stop feeding your kids. I don't want you, like, it sucks that you think this way, and hopefully your kids pick up something better. But again, that's just, at that point, that's me judging. That's me thinking I'm better than that person because I don't like how they have these extreme opinions. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I don't think somebody should be killed off just because they have their opinions. And I think we just need to learn how to accept. Like, and I agree with that thing that you said, Cindy, with the whole, like, just little micro doses of reality. Like, yeah, I think kids are way too censored. Speaking as a former child, it's like, I think kids are way too censored though. Like, seriously, like yeah, don't get me wrong. I was exposed to a lot of things being an adolescent, and my mom worked overnight, so it was easier for us to get away with stuff, So I was exposed to a lot of things. She'd sleep during the day and then work at night. Like, my mom was a hustler. And I think that gave me a reason to kind of be exposed to a lot of shit. I was a wild ass kid, but
that was when I left the scene, by the way.
What?
Because I don't want people getting it twisted. I said that's when I had left the scene, is when you guys became.
Pretty much when Cindy graduated high school and left, the snitch was gone. Put it that way.
No, I never snitched on you guys. You guys were just didn't do shit like that because you wouldn't do nothing. I would do stuff when my mom was at work at night. Not you guys. You guys were asleep. I would check on you.
Okay, because when you graduated, I was in elementary school still. What am I going to do? It wasn't until middle school that I was exposed to
I'm just saying that's because I wasn't around, because I feel like things would have been still a little different.
Full-paying job at 4.
No, you did not.
Anyways, but yeah, no, I mean, and just to fast words though, like that whole microdosing thing, like I do believe kids are a little too sensitive to the fact that where it's just like we censor what they watch on tablets and things like that. And I get that. You don't want your kids watching just porn or anything like that. Like I get there's certain things you don't want them to watch, but there's certain things that it's going to be a lot worse if they face something that they don't know how to handle, rather than racism doesn't exist or weed doesn't exist. I'm a smoker. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care who knows that. I'm not a parent, so it's different. Granted, I get that. I totally understand that. But at the same time, we're making kids feel like we're already programming kids to judge somebody because they smoke weed. I smoke weed and I don't think I'm a terrible person. You could think, another person could think something differently. Like, I think because you smoke weed, I think you're a terrible person. Everything else is fine, but because of this one thing, I think you're a terrible person. Whatever, to each his own. But you're making people, like some of our greatest leaders or influencers, whatever, came through some heavy ass backgrounds, but look at them now. Now they're somebody we look up to. Jay-Z, he used to be a drug dealer, but look at him now. He's more than that. He's way more than that. You don't even think about that anymore. You know what I'm saying? But, and I'm not saying that to say like, oh, we need to make drugs look cool or anything like that, but I'm just saying it more like, that's just an example. Like if a kid doesn't see something, if a kid goes through something in real life, if they get checked in real life, they're not going to know how to handle it, and it could be way worse because you censored them from everything. Like kids can't watch movies nowadays. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's too violent. I literally know, like, Fortnite is an all cartoonish game, and some parents will be like, that's too much. Like, what? Like, I get it if it's like Grand Theft Auto type of game, but even that's a little, like, I don't know. I think censorship could be a little dangerous. I get it. Don't get me wrong, but I think there's a lot of danger to it too, because nobody's going to be that sweet in real life when you grow up. Nobody's sweet like that. Some people are, some people aren't. You're going to get those radical ones. You got to learn how to defend yourself. You got to learn how to, what's my next move? What's this? What's that? But no, we'd rather be like, no, this doesn't exist. And then when somebody else brings it up with a friend or a family member, be like, hey, don't talk about that. Why? Because my kids are like, they're not a fucking toddler, bro. Like this, they're in middle school. This exists. This is real life. Like, there's racism, there's drugs, there's police brutality.
I have a great quote for that. It's prepare the child for the road, not the road for the child. Like, that's my approach definitely with my daughter. It's just like, let's just be brave and let's learn to be confident. Let's learn to be accepting, because that's it. The more open-minded you are, but confident, the better it's going to go for you. And the more you shelter your child, we see these people as adults. They don't know how to handle very little stresses, or they freak out over things that you're like, that wouldn't be a real problem to me. But to them, because they were so sheltered, because their parents did everything for them, they don't know how to handle situations. And it sucks because you're an adult. You don't feel good because you're not self-sufficient. And we don't know that, but that's what ends up happening. And then I also wanted to say that Jessica mentioned this. We're in a constant state of change. And even yesterday is no longer who we are. It just, for me, I've always said this, and I guess that's why everybody talks shit and says, Cindy doesn't believe in this. Like, yesterday doesn't exist anymore, and neither does 5 minutes from now. The only thing it's the only thing really that does exist. As much as we want to, go into those places, it's like, what can you do right now for yourself in this moment? And so that's another thing that we're like, oh, they said this 10 years ago, so we got to count. It's like, people change. You got to give them the opportunity. Mistakes are very important. That's how the human learns. And if we're blocking it so that we can be the most comfortable species ever, it's just like, that's, in my opinion, one way. I don't think we're going to get to that, but that's one way you kind of kill off a species, is when you become overly sensitive to the environment. That's how it's been for other species. I'm not saying that's going to happen to us. Of course not. I have a very optimistic look on the future. But currently, that's kind of like the culture we're heading in, and it's really interesting. So those are my closing remarks. If anybody has any other closing, Martin, thank you so much for being with us. You are welcome to come back whenever. You are officially a prima.
Thank you. And just to say, I just wanted to say this real quick, quick philosophy, guys, that I live by. I've always said this, and I've always believed it.
You say it every morning?
I say it every morning. I say it before I go to sleep. I say it before I leave to work, and I live by this, and I die by this code. Don't ever, for any reason, ever, no matter what, no matter who tells you, for any reason, ever.
This is why I don't talk to my brothers outside of when we have family gatherings.
Sometimes I'll just start a sentence and ramble on and then forget where I'm going. So follow my OnlyFans, guys.
That's what you were gonna say? Okay.
Oh man. I knew it was like a 50-50 shot. Yeah, thanks guys. Thanks Primo for your time.
Shizzy.
Yeah, let's do part 2 for sure though, because I also have a lot of stuff that I want to talk about. Love you guys.
Love y'all.
Hey, follow us on Instagram at PrimasPodcast. DM us if you have any thoughts, any ideas, any feedback. Leave comments on our YouTube page. Nobody ever does besides like our immediate family and friends. We're watching. No, just playing. But we appreciate you so much for listening. Thank you so much for supporting the Primas podcast. Primas out.
Mandela.
Bye.
Bye.